Three. Hey, what's up, guys? This is your boy David Chen at Pandanomics Podcast, New York Weekly's #1 podcast for 2020. And today I have a very, very special guest of mine, the man of all men, the big baller, the one and only London Brown. London, how you doing today?
Man, no complaints. I'm staying healthy and all that good stuff, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Now let me talk about how I met London. This is the most craziest thing. I'm a big fan of ballers, right? And so I'm looking over and I see, like, as if it was liquid gold, like, oh, I see London Brown there at the ESPY party me and Matt hosted. And I look over and I'm like, holy poop, that's London Brown. I'm going to walk over there and say hi to him. And so you had no idea who I was. I just walked over, introduced myself, and you were so genuine and so nice. And to me, our podcast is all about is just being good people and giving back, right? And adding value and leaving that impression. And, you know, we met each other, it's crazy, over a year ago, like we said. And because the podcast where it was at, I was like, I got to reach out to London and get him on as a great guy because he's such a good human being and he was just so super duper cool. So that was the craziest part. First thing I want to get into, tell me how you got into acting, you know, and how you did all this stuff. Was something you always wanted to do? Because I know you're a comedian, you're funny. I mean, I watch your lives a lot. What did you do to kind of get you into this?
The acting thing started, I remember just in church, like doing a little Easter play, stuff like that. And then grade school, just still doing the plays. But it got serious for me, maybe I was like 15, something like that. I remember one of my boys was doing the play and he was touring. And I remember I just wanted to do it and get on the road with him. So he talked to his mom, he spoke to the director, and I had a small part and I was touring. But it really got serious in high school. Like my 11th grade in high school, I did a play and I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. And it just felt very comfortable. It was very at ease, man. And I just, ever since then, I just wanted to be, I just like the energy of performing live. There's a different kind of gratification that you get from being able to connect with the audience in that sort of way. So it just stuck with me, like I said, maybe since high school, man. And then after high school, of course, the short version is you just audition and you hope you land something, you hope you get something, and then you mess around and you land something. So it's been all right for me, man. It's been cool, man.
It's a blessing, man, for you to find what you found. You know, how many auditions would you say that you tried out for before you got what you would consider your break?
Man, oh man, I gotta tell you, it's been it's been hundreds, bro. It's been hundreds. I don't want to say thousands with an S, but I say definitely hundreds of auditions that I've done. And before, like Ballers was the one that was probably the biggest one so far. And even even just that project alone took 2 months of just doing the audition, doing the audition and going back and forth, not hearing anything back, and call back after call back. So it's a grind, man. It's a grind. Like I said, and I landed I had a TV show before that, but that one we only did one episode of that, or one season of that, which was 6 episodes. But even then, that wasn't even like I think that was a setup for me for Ballers, but it's a process, bro. It's a process because also before Ballers, like nobody really knew who I was. So, and even, I'm not that I'm a household name now, but Ballers just exposed me. It's not like I just started acting with Ballers, but Ballers was a platform that kind of opened up a lot of other stuff because I was, it's a solid network. It's not like it's a very good quality, if not the best quality cable network. So, it's a process, dude. It's just a grind because again, nobody knew me. So Ballers was just like a nice jump start that allowed people like yourself and people overseas and whatnot to even be exposed or introduced to me. So that was a good setup, man.
You know what I like to hear? What people don't realize is we're overnight successes where we did something out of nowhere. And no one understands the tears, the grit, the sadness, the self-doubt, the haters that are telling you in your background while you're still trying to work that job to follow your dreams. You did it. And when you say hundreds and you get into this first episode of shows and there's 6, and then you're waiting 2 months and just that mental agony that you have to go forward. Like, man, is this going to work over there? What kept you going? What would you tell people that are in the same, similar positions, whatever they're trying to do? What kept you going on that?
You know what? The thing about it was after I did my first TV show, I was actually still working an after school program. So I had a show on TV and I was still working the job. And I think that sometimes people feel like you get on TV and your life just changes and that's what it's supposed to be. But my process was, I was still trying to juggle both. And I didn't leave my job until I felt it was time to. And so during that process of dealing with ballers, I just remember I kept a lot of faith, man. I just was, anytime I had any doubt, I would remove doubt. And I just remember I just thanked God for the part. I prayed for the part. I just made sure I was very prepared. And I just tried to make sure I didn't, anytime doubt came in, I just refocused because, when we get thoughts, it's just a matter of which ideas we're going to entertain. Are we going to entertain the negative ones or are we going to focus on the progressive ones? So I just try to be very progressive with where I put my energy because the mind must bring forth that which consistently occupies it, is what Dr. Johnson says. And so for me, it's important that I was just locked in, bro. And every time when the audition came up, it was important that I was very prepared because I didn't want to waste the opportunity. That's the thing too. A lot of times we want things, we ask for things, and then when they come up, we're not ready because we're so busy being distracted by all these ephemeral ideas that are not going to last, they're not around, but we don't want to wait. We don't have the patience to just lock in and be focused. I'm a very, very focused kind of guy when it comes to the things I want. And that was one of those things. I was like, man, I need to land this because I was working an after school program job. I was broke. I remember I had like $28 in my account. Everything I owned was in my mother's garage. I was just like, man, I can't really mess around, man. So if anybody's trying to do this, just put your energy into the things that you want and do something every day that puts you closer to where you want to be. Because sometimes people think they have to wait. Let's just say if somebody wants to start a trucking company. Sometimes people feel like they have to wait to get all the money first before they do it. Or they feel like, man, where do I find the trucks? It starts with little things like just reading up on the subject, reading over contracts and business plans, figuring out routes that you think you want your truck to go, designs. Just start manifesting the things that you want to happen and do things towards those things. And so that's how I live today. And I think that helped me get through that process when things got doubtful.
See, I like that. You're born May 14th. I was born May 9th. We're literally a year or two apart. We're both Tauruses. So we have probably very similar personalities if you believe it or not. But the one thing I believe is no matter how much self-doubt and things that we have, we continue to grind and do the grit because it's what we believe that we can actually happen and manifest it.
Absolutely.
What you talk about is the power, what I always talk about is power of perspective, right? You're just grateful for the blessings that you currently have that have been bestowed upon you. And how can you accumulate more if you're not grateful for things that you currently have? But the more important part is you were being proactive. You weren't sitting there and crying and being upset and frustrated, although that was probably emotions that all of us go through, business people, whatever else. You were progressively adding value to what you're trying to do, to your craft and to your trade and to your point of researching, which is why I always tell people to Google it. And that's what you did, which is super amazing. So here you are, you have this great show you're playing. And I remember the first thing I said to you, I don't know if you remember it, but I said this, I was like, man, you're nothing like Reggie. And you're like, I am nothing like Reggie. That's not who I am. But I told you this, I don't remember this. I said to you, I said, that's how good of an actor you are. You're so good. You made me dislike you so much in the beginning and then love you at season 5 in the end because I thought you were just such a great actor. But you see that transition and that personality, right? And I'm sure you get that a lot, right? When people say that to you. But how did you do all that transition to being such a positive person towards the end of this and changing that type of character?
Well, the thing about it, what a lot of people don't know is Reggie wasn't even supposed to be in there 5 seasons. Reggie was only supposed to be maybe like 2 episodes.
Wow.
I was supposed to be the best friend, the classic best friend of the guy who makes it to the league. But after the audition process, that's when they decided to say, "Hey, man, can you move to Miami? And we would like to make you one of the stars of the show, a season regular." I was like, "All right, cool, let's do it." And so that was the first thing. And then the next thing was on set. I remember the director was allowing me to improvise a lot, because the thing about it was during the audition process, I was in a room with the creators of the show, but the network didn't know me, so they didn't want me for the part initially because I didn't have a resume, and so but the creators, the ones I had to work with on a day-to-day, they saw what they needed to see to bring me on board. And so on set, they just let me improvise a lot, and the writers they were typing as I was giving them stuff. There was a lot of dialogue going back and forth between the ideas of what we felt Reggie could go, where we wanted to take him. So I knew in season 1 where I wanted to arc Reggie. But then the main thing was, I just tried to make sure I brought some things to Reggie that was going to make him be memorable, because again, I didn't want to just be the best friend on the show. That wasn't going to be interesting. I would have messed around, got written off. But so Reggie became the antagonist almost by default, because I don't think they really had one in season 1. But the more I was giving them, the writing started to shift towards me, and the dynamic or the dichotomy between Spencer and Reggie. And so that worked out. So then season 1, Reggie was very irresponsible. Season 2, he was trying to be a leader, but didn't quite know. And by, season 3, he's really trying to be now we start seeing Burning in season 3, get into the weed business and all these other things by season 3 and 4. So then by the time 5 came around, Reggie started really knowing the numbers, and we had allowed Reggie to arc into some maturity. And that was cool for me to go through that. Actors like having characters begin at one place and go to some place else, because it gives some other things to play. So I definitely enjoyed being able to do. I really enjoyed season 1, because I wish they would have at some point let Reggie kind of get back into Spencer's face and go at it like that. But I do like the maturity that happened by season 5.
It's so lovable, because being in the sports industry, being in esports as much as I am, you do have the people from the side. And the one thing is, most people write them off instead of working with them, right? And because everyone needs to do what they have to do to get to where they have to go, right? And it doesn't matter what it was. But the way that you change that character around, and that's kudos to you, man, because I'll tell you, I disliked you so much in season 1, and by season 5, I'm rooting and cheering for you. When you sold that to Joe and you did what you had to do, it was so magical and powerful, man. Like that was definitely amazing to me, right? And so that tells your creativity. But the one thing that I think you're probably saying is, that's not typical for people allow you to do that. That means that you must have been easy to deal with, a good guy, a kind personality, where they had to put that faith in you. And a lot of people mess up, right? They do it the other way around. They're trying to be jerks and trying to act a certain way, but that gets you nowhere, right? And that's what you did, right? You had to have been that nice in order for all that to have happened.
Yeah, it was a thing where it's always good when the director can trust, when there's that kind of dynamic between the director and the actor, because we established very early on that, and this is where my theater background comes from, as far as improvising and things like that. Also, my timing that was coming from stand-up. So when I started throwing out things and people was laughing on set, and on camera and off camera, then that's when it was like, okay, yeah, you could. And then it got cool enough to where we would do like the first few takes, we'd do a verbatim, whatever they had written, and then they do extra takes and they say, okay, London, or what they say, London, you can play with you can play with this one. We're doing this for you. So they would do extra takes and just let me riff and say what I want to say. And I mean, they kept a lot of my stuff. Because Reggie is not the comic relief on Ballers.
Right.
Robert Corddry is, or Joe Crutel is like the funny guy. Or even later, towards the other seasons, Russell Brand was the relief. So anytime people was laughing at anything Reggie did, that was just London just working the funny in there, because I was like I said, I wasn't the comic relief, but people laughed at Reggie at times as well. So it's cool, man, because sometimes some directors, they locked in on what they locked in, but it makes the environment comfortable when you can have a dialogue with the director and they're open to really listen to you, and we can build the scenes together. So that was cool.
You know, the thing I think is super amazing about you is you're going in there, someone like Mark. First time I went to Mark's house, I remember just turning, seeing Mark, and I was like, holy cow, that's Mark Wahlberg, right? And I've met presidents, and it was so like crazy to me. And now you had Mark as one of the producers. You're hand in hand with Rob and The Rock, of all people, right? But you held your own like a straight up G and vet. How did you keep that mindset to where you were still learning, not being cocky, but yet being confident of what you did with these type of people?
A lot of that of the confidence or the comfortability in that was relying on the work that I had done before that. I knew I was theatrically trained. I knew that I had been preparing for this. It's like an athlete that's coming off the bench. Like I know the game. I've been studying the game. I was waiting to get put into the game because I'd been done all the practicing. I'm doing the drills. I know the plays. Just put me in the game. So when they allowed me to get into the game, it was important that I put up big shots because I couldn't blow the opportunity. Because I know that, first of all, I didn't have an agent when I landed Ballers. HBO ain't supposed to even find somebody like me, according to paper. On paper, I'm supposed to go through my manager and agent and all these other people. So the fact that they found me while I was out, at the time I was working as a choreographer, and I was in my brother's room on the floor just laying down because I was exhausted from rehearsing all day or all week. And so when they called and I went in, I just knew that when I first got it, the writing felt good, the whole project felt good. And so I was just like, man, I can't blow this because I don't have no backup plan. I need to go all the way, or this is it. And so trusting my preparation, as I mentioned, doing things every day to put us closer to where we want to be. So before I was on Ballers, I was still reading and studying scripts, doing scene study, taking acting classes. So when it was time to go, and then also you got to keep in mind my first TV show, I was coming from theater. So when you come from theater, it's important when the adjustment from theater to TV is knowing how to play everything from outside, or let me move the way. Learn how to play everything outside of this frame that we're in now, and being able to play everything like in here. So my first TV show taught me how to play to the camera. So by the time Ballers came around, I was well oiled. I was ready to go.
Right.
And then again, my presence came from theater. So even though Dwayne is taller than me and bigger than me in physical form, Fat Reggie's presence with Dwayne's size made it balance out. So we never felt like it never felt unequal. It felt like, yo, Len is smaller than Dwayne, but who is this guy talking this stuff to Dwayne? So it balanced out through preparation. So that's to your question. I was just very prepared, man. That's the only thing I could have done. Just make sure I had my lines down and try to be as professional as I could be.
You know, one thing I love is your Instagram lives. I mean, you're hilarious, but you're a thoughtful truth teller, right? You're not when I watch them, you talk about that a lot. Talk a little bit about your Instagram live and what inspires you to do that and the subjects you talk about.
One of the things is I started going live because I do like to interact with people. And also I used to get a lot of my DMs used to get flooded with a lot of questions about all kinds of different things, from relationships, religion, fashion, food, politics, and ballers and so forth. And so what I decided to do was, I figured if I just go live, then I can address a lot of these things on the live. But also, it's important to me when I go live not to waste people's time. Like I'm not ego driven, and I just feel like I need people to listen to me for the sake of people listening to me. But I do feel the responsibility of, if I'm gonna have a bunch of people listen to me, they should leave my life learning something, whether that's a new sauce, a new word, a new way to approach something, or at least challenge them to think differently from what they may be accustomed to. And because I just feel like things should be progressive. Not only should the people around me, not only should I be learning things from the people around me, but people around me should be learning from me as well. So I just try to it's like sometimes you talk to people and after you get off the phone with them, you feel drained. Some
right,
people,
the energy.
you be like, yo, we spoke 5 minutes, but I felt like I worked a 9 to 5. People
Right.
they're like spiritually draining. And I just don't like that feeling for myself. So when I deal with other people, I try to make sure that people feel uplifted. And also, like, it's again, using the platform in an effective way, whether that means right now I have a guy I've been interacting with named Jerry. Jerry is a young man who watched Ballers. He hit me up like a couple months ago or something. He's like, yo, I watch Ballers, and it started from there. Then he would show up to my lives all the time, and I would teach him how to make a recipe. But then, for example, one thing I did this week was a couple months ago, he showed me some shoes that he had that at one point they were like brand new white. Then he went to go cut some grass, and then the shoes were dirty. And shoes mean something to me because when I grew up, I couldn't afford all the shoes that I wanted. But I've always liked sneakers, and I always liked clothes and fashion, stuff like that. So when I got into a position to where I could afford to buy my own shoes, because my mom never did it because she couldn't do it. Shoes, they just take me back to a place in my childhood of when I didn't have things. And so now, if I give somebody some shoes, I really care about
Right.
It's a real thing for me. So to the point where that's why even if I don't know someone, if someone's shoes are that bad, I don't like to see nobody with bad shoes. You know what I mean? So not that I can afford to give everybody a pair of shoes, but shoes mean something to me. So I don't even like seeing other people disrespect tennis shoes. That's how much they mean to me. So when I saw him with these shoes, after we cracked all the jokes, at the end of the day, the lesson was, if someone's gonna crack jokes about you and not help you, then that's not the kind of people you want around. That's not what I'm on. After I crack the jokes, that's cool, and we laugh and we kiki about that. But the next thing is, at the end of the day, this is where my heart is. Here goes some brand new shoes. This way, you don't have to ever deal with them type of shoes again. So there's a life lesson in that. And not only am I helping him, but what most people don't know is that as I interact with Jerry is, I'm also building off of this young, he's like 20 something. And I did after school program stuff, taught in the Boys and Girls Club, but also was a teacher. So my connection with young people is a very real thing for me. And I know that sometimes on my live, people don't understand that. So they joke about, because I don't know, like, so the thing about this young man is that it takes him a minute to connect ideas, right? There's just, I don't know what's going on. He just processes slow, kind of. And so I understand my followers got jokes sometimes, and they, but I'm not concerned about that. My real concern is at the end of the day, if Jerry never decides to talk to me again, Jerry can say, when I met the dude from Ballers, he was nice, He was kind. He taught me some things. He gave me some shoes. My life was better after he left it. That's my only concern. I'm not concerned about my followers cracking jokes. I'm not concerned how long it takes in the process. Because people say, man, Len, you got a lot of patience. They don't know. I pride myself in having a lot of patience. I purposely go and seek out people who may have a hard time solving problems. I enjoy saying, oh, look, this is how you solve this. Put that over there, connect that, and that's how you get it done. Because we can all talk about people who got the problems. What are we doing to solve the problems? And so if you're not solve the problem, you're part of the problem. And when I deal with people, I'm looking for opportunities to help them be progressive, so that whether they ever talk to me again, they can say, man, after I interacted with London, I learned something. I felt better. I was encouraged. I was uplifted. My job is done. You can do whatever you want to do. I don't need a thank you. I don't need none of that. My thank you, I get mine from God or from family, whoever cares. I'm not looking for those kind of accolades. So my whole thing at the end of the day is, again, things like Ballers and these other platforms, as they help me build my ideas, or not my ideas, but as I come into what others may consider to be successes, only thing I'm trying to do is get into an influential position so that I can help more people. That's it. Because I got my place, I got my car, I eat every day, my bills paid, I'm fine. I just want to be able to do what I'm doing now on a bigger scale. Like, for example, after whatever the third movie or whatever it is, you like, yo, why don't you come, let's go to whatever the city is. Let's meet in Chicago somewhere, and there's a bunch of kids, man, maybe we could put your connections together, my connections together. Let's do the backpack giveaway or the Christmas toy drive or something for the homeless or whatever it is. That's the real stuff. Not,
I love it.
I mean, cool, you know what I mean? But it's not about all that other stuff is kind of corny. But that's why it's good that I go to like events like your red carpet event and meet people like you and connect on. I never want to force networking, but how we did it is just like, boom, yo, it was good. I watched the show, exchange numbers, and it very organically. So that's my.
I appreciate it. I love that you add value. I love that you care. I think that's obviously what the premise of the show is about. It's all the personal relationships, and it means what you're doing that. I know that you're really busy because you're doing some other things in between. The last piece of advice I just want you to throw out is, what would the last piece of advice that you would give our listeners all around the world, just about life in general?
I would say, man, not to live in fear, and not to live in fear, and not to function. Like, a lot of people don't know that they think pessimistically, or they're very negative sometimes. Yeah. And what I've tried to do, man, over the past few years, I just try to be very, very kind. And to much whom is given, much is required. So I just try to, as things come to me, I try to give even more, because it's not about me. You know what I mean? I'm fine. I got my little stuff, but just try to give as much as you can give. Don't live in fear, and do something every day that puts you closer to where you want to be.
That's amazing, my man. Can you go ahead and drop your social media handles so people can follow this knowledgeable, wise human being?
Yeah, man. I'm Real London Brown, at Real London Brown, and that's on social media stuff. So yeah, hit me up at Real London Brown.
And check out his Instagram Live, and he's got some big things coming up. London, thanks for your time, you guys. This is David again for Pandanomics, New York Weekly's #1 podcast of 2020. Thank you. Bless for that. We'll talk to everyone soon.